And that's it. That's 30 seconds. And I'm gonna update the video soon because it says 7 years in, but we're 8 years in. We're 8 years
Oh yeah,
in.
you gotta update it.
I am definitely gonna update the video, get us a new little commercial. And of course, as we've said before, we're always taking in music. So if anybody's listening to this at some point and you've got a little 15-second, 30-second demo, a little something instrumental that sounds good, that sounds like Freethinkers, it has a Freethinkers energy and vibe to it, definitely send us some submissions so we can update all things regardless. But welcome to Free Thinkers. Happy Tuesday, y'all. It's
Yep.
been a strange I don't know. It doesn't feel like a Tuesday. It doesn't feel I don't know. It is off time concept feels off to me. Maybe it's
Could have
like
been
summertime.
maybe the 4th might have thrown things off.
I feel like it, but even that it was
Could
on
have been the
Friday.
4th.
So,
Some people had extended weekends. It was on what?
it was on a Friday. So I mean it really wasn't, it wasn't like a midweek. I think Juneteenth was on a Thursday, and people were like, man, this is horrible to be off on Thursday, go back on Friday, and then have off, of course, Saturday, Sunday. So the 4th was on a Friday, which, didn't seem like it was too off, but it even my girlfriend was over earlier today, and she was like, is it really Tuesday? I was like, all day? She was like, I thought it was Monday. So happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We made it to Tuesday.
Honestly, I don't know what it feels like to me right now. I don't know if it feels like Thursday, if it feels like it feels all of my just my time.
Everything's blending with each other.
Everything is just thrown off.
Why so? Like since last week or just in general right now?
Maybe over the last few weeks, I just think we are creatures of repetition and habit, and when that habit gets thrown out or thrown off or interrupted, then it interrupts your flow of a beginning to end to rewinding back to a beginning.
Do you feel
I don't
like
know, it just feels weird.
summer cycle for the kids has kind of messed up your schedule then?
Maybe, possibly, because there's certain times in the middle of the week we may do weekend type stuff. Like, I mean, like even yesterday we went out to the splash pad and we was hanging out, like weekend type stuff. But no, it's
Right.
Monday, so
Right.
and just a lot of stuff like that. So whenever we went to go see the fireworks, I don't remember what day that was. Was it Friday? I guess so. It was a Friday that felt like a Saturday. Because usually I'm working on a Friday, but I'm not working on a Friday. We spent all day Friday as if it was a Saturday.
Yeah.
So Saturday seems like, it just, things get
It was
turned around
weird.
a little bit.
It was weird. I don't usually get too turned around with time, but being down at my mom's this weekend and like just I don't know, we left later than we were supposed to, and then we left coming home later than we were supposed to. So like just the whole schedule got I don't know. I feel discombobulated. I feel, and I shouldn't be because
That's
I
an
had
interesting thought for the future.
what's that?
Like, do we as people need routine? Do we have to do we need an 8 to 5 job? Do we need Monday through Sunday? Do we need certain period of lightness and darkness? Do we need to sleep do we need to sleep when it's night and need to be awake when it's like, what would happen if those routines were reversed or thrown off or non-existent or random? Would we be able to operate as individuals and society?
Well, that could be a very interesting question because you really then start getting into all the reasons why the whys were put into play. So why society has created us to be awake during the day and asleep at night. Why society has created us to eat 3 times a day, or why they say that breakfast is supposed to be your most important meal, but is it really? Like, so the repetitious
No, they
cycle.
said that was a lie, but yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
but
so like, as we talk about often, a lot of the stuff that we have been kind of programmed with jump has turned out to be a lie, um, false information, fake news.
And
Um,
especially from a healthy, or health or keeping your weight down, they said the best is if you can wait till about 12 to 1 o'clock to eat, then that actually is more beneficial to you because the longer you can go without breaking the fast, then you actually give your body opportunity to break down the energy that's within your body, which is the fat.
mhm.
So it's actually for you to, especially if you're trying to lose weight, try to, because you already sleeping those 7 8 hours, and then the longer you can hold it off, then your body is actually burning more energy. Try to wait till 1 2 o'clock before you eat. It's actually better for you to losing weight wise. But anyway, keep going with you.
Well, but then, so then that gets into the religiosity of this, right? So then what do I eat when it's time to break the fast? They say I should have
Right.
milk every day. They say I should have meat 3 times a day.
Oh
They
yeah.
say, they say, but at the end of the day, actually you don't.
Hey,
Food pyramid's a
listen,
lie. The consumption is
the
a
meat
lie.
ain't going nowhere. I'm a Texan, and that steak ain't going nowhere. The steak, the burgers, all of that stuff, it ain't going nowhere.
But it's, you think about, just as kids, growing up thinking, oh, I have to eat breakfast, I have to eat lunch, I have to eat dinner. But in theory, you really don't. You may
Right.
really only
That's
need
true.
one main large meal per day and a bunch of different, high protein, good snacks to fuel your body for the rest of
Right.
the day. But they got us thinking that, we got to eat breakfast in the morning. So what do? We give our kids sugary cereals and waffles and
Yep.
pancakes and Pop Tarts and, toaster strudels. And we load them with sugar and shit first thing in the morning.
Yep.
And then they crash, and then they give them a whole bunch more at lunch at school, and then they crash again. And, so I think that'd be an interesting conversation to have, because I think that's probably one of the greatest challenges with changing behaviors is
Right.
breaking
True.
patterns, breaking cycles, incorporating new cycles, new habits. Like, that's the discipline required to instill change. And that shit's hard.
Yep. That's true.
Okay, so we
Very
have a
true.
topic idea. So we got future topic
So,
idea. Just like that. That's how it works.
yeah.
That's kind of
Speaking of
how it
topics,
gets.
I think we got a good topic today, which again, I don't think we've ever talked about this before.
I don't think so either. I
Not
don't
as
think.
a good topic, so I think this is going to be interesting. But I don't know, Nikki, how far you went into it because I keep interrupting you. But make sure you like this, comment, and share. And as much as liking and sharing, then definitely make sure that you comment. So we want to know where people are. It's wonderful to hear so many people saying that they listen and they watch us, but we would like to see it real time. We know that we're being shadow banned, but we want to make sure that you're not just viewing, that we know that you're listening, participating as well. If you want to get on, it's very simple to get on. All you have to do is get on StreamYard link. You get on StreamYard link by it's linked to the Facebook page. You go right in and you click on it. Never been on StreamYard? Extremely easy and simple. Just click on it and the directives will bring you right in and we'll bring you into the conversation. If you like to get into the conversation, just come with open thoughts, open heart, open mind, and be prepared to speak freely and have your thoughts and ideals. Um, what's the
Have more.
challenged? That's the word I was going to say. Challenged. Make sure you have something in your ears so that sound doesn't bleed out. Always keep in mind that we do have adult content and adult language as well. So be mindful around the people who are listening. Outside of that, come join, be a part of the conversation. And I don't think we'll be long. I think I think about regular time. I don't think we'll go long. So I think this is a good conversation that we got. So
I think so
do
too.
you want to add anything, Nikki, before I lead us into this?
No, just make sure you subscribe everywhere. Ain't gonna lie, I was a little disappointed when I looked at our subscription list today and see who was and wasn't subscribed. So if you feel like a hit dog is hollering right now, then I'm talking to you. So please join us over on the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. You really do not understand how much that support means to us, what that
Absolutely.
helps us do, where that helps us go. And if you If you rock with us, then rock with us. Hit the subscription, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. You'll always know when we have a live stream coming. It'll come straight to you. And of course, jump in the conversation. We love to see you in person if you're in the Central Texas area, but jump in the conversation. Every time we do this, we both get hit up with people after the second the conversation is over with their thoughts. Come before the show is over. Come before that. Come and join.
Oh, so I'm not even gonna get into that because
Don't
Denise
place the
asked me
blame
something
on
last
my
week.
friends that have not hit the subscribe button yet.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, especially and if you're on Facebook, subscribe to YouTube as well.
Definitely.
Okay, that's another comment. Denise asked me a question last week that's kind of been sticking with me for a while, and it was something I was actually thinking about it all week. So I have several different. I'll wait for her though. I had a conversation with her later
Okay.
about that though. She asked me a question. But anyway,
Okay.
speaking of conversations leading into topics, Nikki and I were briefly discussing, hey, what we're going to talk about today, and we started having a conversation. I think I brought up blame and where this came from, and immediately once we saw that this was going to turn into a conversation and potentially an argument, we were like, okay, stop right here, time out. We'll save it for the show. So the topic for today is blame, administering blame, fault, uh, and we're gonna have a lot of conversation around that. But
Mm-hmm.
what made me think of it, especially for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of flooding going on in Texas right now, and it's actually some pretty bad stuff, and we've lost lives, and just it's been unfortunate and bad all the way around. One of the worst incidents, um, was involving a summer camp, and in that summer camp, a whole cabin was washed away with, I believe, how was it, like 27 girls, or how many kids was
First,
it?
there was like 26 that were just missing, but all together,
26 were missing altogether, and
there's
okay, and then it was a cabin just washed away. Many of them, last I heard, they only found 2 of them alive, and they're still searching for others. I don't know if anybody else has any update on that. Feel free to chime in on that.
I think
But
the death toll is now up to, I believe, like 116 or 119, and there's still over
yeah,
100 people that have not been found.
so this
So they're going to
is,
say they're saying 2 and 300 people when this is all said and done.
yeah, and in today's day, if people are missing and not found, haven't been located, it's a good chance that they've probably passed. Otherwise, they would have reached out and contacted someone by now.
Mhm.
So just bad stuff all the way around. So I don't get too much into the news, but my mother-in-law, who was talking to me, she started mentioning certain things on the news, and they talked about how, well, the kids who were washed away at the summer camp, their cell phones were taken away from them during camp because they didn't want them to have phones. So they started trying to place blame towards that, and then they said something else about the lag time and response, that certain counties or places tried to give aid and they were slow receiving help or aid from them. Um, and then, so my first thought behind that was, I feel like we are in a society that always feels that we have to place the blame somewhere. And my thought is, sometimes there's not any specific place to place the blame. It's just, this was a freak of nature, an accident that no one really could have prepared for. We don't have to blame the camp, and we don't have to blame um, the people at the camp for taking the kids' phones. If they're at camp, then why you don't need to have a phone when you're at camp. Just enjoy the other kids, enjoy the activities. Just, we're already phone overload. So I'm of the stance where we always feel that everything that happens has to have some type of blame attached to it. When in reality, some things are tragic events, some things there is no blame that should be attached anywhere. Now, this is where we put a timeout on the conversation because,
You gotta stop
as you can see
immediately.
by Nikki's face and countenance and gestures, she disagrees with that. I don't know how she disagrees, but this is where we're about to continue the conversation and go on with that. Nikki, what's up?
In a perfect world, Q, I think that there could be situations, right, and instances where it is just an accident. It's one of the things I wrote in my notes. Are there actually even accidents? Are there truly 100% accidents, right? Or do even accidents have some fault slash responsibility slash culpability, as a common denominator for why this thing happened? And so, and we may feel differently about the mechanics of this particular storm, right? So you feel like it's a natural disaster. I do not feel like it's a natural disaster. I do not feel like it was a natural disaster because that rainstorm was a modified storm. I know a lot of people will say, oh, that doesn't happen. Yes, it does. There's plenty of documented truth, proof, and patent numbers of weather modification happening, right? So I don't think that this was a natural occurrence, and oh my god, these poor children and all of these people that lost their life who were camping on the riverbanks that weekend, like, oh my god, this was just horrible. This wasn't a natural occurrence. That doesn't mean that rain isn't natural, because rain is natural, but this particular
Okay.
storm, this storm was a man-made intensified storm. They literally said there was a hurricane sitting over Kerrville for 18 hours. Every weather outlet that you go to, and I'm a big sky weather junkie. I've always been a weather geek. Every meteorologist that you go to, weatherman that you go to, whether they're a homemade garage one or a certified meteorologist, they're all saying the same thing. Like, this is an anomaly. And how many anomaly style weather events do we have to have before we start to say, look, this shit is just getting to be a bit much? And I realize most people want to go to the side of climate control. I used to think climate control was real. It made sense. I don't today because I know that they modify the weather, right? So it wasn't natural. So it wasn't an accident. However, I think that when we don't place blame, we can also get real dangerous and almost enabling to the things that may have taken place to allow catastrophic accidents to happen. Taking the phones. I totally agree. You're at camp. You're going to get your phone taken. Like, that's kind of one of the things. Like, we're breaking you from your natural
Right.
day and you're going to focus on what we're doing here. I don't have a problem with the taking of the phone thing. That's understandable. And usually most camps, the kids can use their phones like in downtime, at bedtime, shit like that, right?
Right.
But that's definitely going to pose an issue if you take our cell phones, and that is our mode of emergency transportation, information, information being sent out. Also, cell phones get the flood warning notifications. Well, if they don't have their phones, if their phones are off, well, they're not going to get them. So that could pose a problem. That's not an accident. That's not a good fucking idea, right? So we have to come up with a plan B. Failing to plan is definitely planning to fail. The other part to that I have an issue with is that it was preventable. You can't stop floods. As long as there's rain, there's going to be floods. You can't stop fatalities in floods. Sometimes they are just absolute catastrophic fatal events. This camp has been there for 100 years. Many of these camps along Guadalupe River have been operating for 100 years. I think it was exactly 40 years ago to the weekend they had the last catastrophic large
How
scale.
long ago?
I want to say it was like 40 years ago. It was
Okay.
early 80s when they had another fatal accident where a bunch of kids were killed at the camp as well. We
And this was
flood.
4 years, and it was because of water rising,
Yes, yeah, it was a flood. It was a flood situation. Um,
and
we
kids died there because of
yeah,
flooding waters
oh,
4 years ago.
full of kids was washed off the road and into the creek. Like, I was literally watching some of that documentary earlier today. They're like, wow, how eerie. What is literally almost 40 years to the day that another
Oh, you said
massive scale.
40. You said
40,
40 years?
40, 40. Yeah,
4
40, 40,
0.
40, 40. But between then and this past weekend, we've had countless floods. Countless. We're known for having flash floods. That's one of the dangers of, heavy rains in the central Texas area. We have dry beds everywhere. Water is not absorbed. Like flash flooding happens. Okay? So we've got the phones are taken. We've got, poor warning systems. Where I'm never going to stop placing blame is on the businesses that make money and take people and children and house them on the banks of those rivers that do not have a warning system. There is no siren. If you go to any community that's been ravaged by tornadoes, they'll say if we would have had the sirens, it could have saved lives. We could have prepared better. We could have evacuated. We didn't know until it was ripping our fucking roof off that there's a tornado coming our direction. Had we been given the advance notice with, say, a siren in town, but a lot of these new tornadoes now are happening in places that are not traditional tornado prone communities. So they don't generally have tornado warnings because they don't generally have tornadoes. But with this new weather that we have, now there's people that are getting tornadoes that have never had tornadoes before. So you think about smoke detectors in houses. They'll always tell you if you got a smoke detector in your house, it's your first line of defense. The fire might not be near your space yet, but it's going to wake you up. It's going to alert you that, hey, there is some fucking smoke and fire in this house. Get out, get to safety, get to a meeting point. There's no reason that these camps didn't have sufficient sirens that would have started at the top of the river and gone all the way down to the 15, 16 fucking miles that these bodies are floating in debris being found day 2 and day 3 if they would have had the sirens in play. They would have been notified. They would have had warning. There was no way they could have notified them person to person. It was too late. They had noticed July 3rd that this storm was coming. They sent out flash flood warnings the day of the flood. Most people never got them. So these are
That don't make sense. If you take the phone away from the kid, that don't mean you're taking the phones away from the administration and the adults
so
and the
administration had them, law enforcement had them, your city police chiefs had them, your fire departments, everybody in an official position, highly probable that they had warning. But this is where I think it's important to start looking at people's mentalities with this shit, right? Because these are elite children. We're not going to say that they aren't because they're elite children. They come from people, and I know this is really touchy to say this, they come from people who oftentimes have a not in my backyard mentality. Oh, this is never going to happen type shit. It ain't going to happen. It's not possible. Things like this wouldn't happen to us. As I'm sitting here looking at all of this destruction over the last couple of days, I'm like, my kids, granted, I can't afford to send my kids to that camp anyway, but you're not going to camp on a river for 7, 14, 21 days. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm not comfortable with that because I know this
I
shit
ain't
like that
smart with that.
happens. I know that there's a possibility that, if we're 5 feet off of a riverbank, God forbid anything could happen. I'd rather not. I just rather not. So they've been given the warnings. They did not heed the warnings. They think it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's never happened. There's no way it could possibly happen. Oh, we'll get everybody out if we need to. And they fucking failed miserably because they didn't spend, I don't know how much it would cost to set up fucking sirens all down the river that would have given people at least 2, 3, maybe even 5 minutes notice to get out, get to high ground, and keep moving. But nobody knew. They didn't know until these fucking cabins were in the water being washed down. You got kids in cabins with flashlights screaming. There was nothing they could do. But they did have preventative measures that they could have put into play to prevent this from happening. And so that's why I think it is important. It's very important to place blame where blame needs to be placed because we have to learn from this mistake.
Okay.
That's
I
my
got you.
take.
You made
But
you
and,
made
and,
some
and
very
get it,
you made some good
we'll get
points.
into the placing blames of other people here in a little bit, but we'll just start with this for right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're going to move all around. We're going to comprehensively dig into this conversation. So
'Cause it is
Good.
going all over the place, and I think it's important for us to try to help rein people's logics and emotions together, because at the end of the day, a lot of children drowned. And never, ever, 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 ever do I think that children deserve to be a casualty of war or propaganda or whatever fucking agenda people are trying to push. Never, ever, ever do I think that children are fair in the game of war. But who else makes a bigger
Okay.
impact?
I think I have a bottom line based off of what I said you said and my response to it. So first of all, um, at first I thought you said 4 years. If it happened 4 years ago, I was like, "Oh yeah, they definitely should have did something." 40 years ago, if there hadn't been an incident like that in 40 years, then I'm like, yeah, it might have
Still,
been an earthquake in Texas 200 years ago. I'm not gonna make
no, but
sure that
because
I
there's been
earthquake
plenty
proof
of
my
flooding
house.
between then and now. It's just not been as catastrophic. This number of lives
Okay,
lost.
again, so
We
what I'm
flood
saying is
all the time down here, and we know this.
that's true, but you're not expecting floods to literally wash away entire cabins.
Shit, I
Um,
don't know why
there
not.
wasn't a history of that. Because
They
when has that okay, in the last, let's say the teachers and the counselors, say in the last 25 years, how many times have you heard of cabins being washed away based off of floodwaters? That's not something that you hear. That's not something that you think of. Now, let
you
me let
should.
me go further.
Should if you gonna fuck around and find out the water. I'm a camping
Okay,
girl.
okay.
We grew up
I'm
camping.
not I'm not a blame person to say that because you don't study the possibilities of everything that could happen or has happened in the last 150 years. Okay, well, in Italy, the volcano erupted 1,000 years ago. Should I be on alert for that all the time?
I bet you they got sirens. I bet you they got sirens to alert the community that God forbid we have seismic activity that is something that
Okay,
is
okay, but
something we got
hold
to
on,
respond
Nikki.
to. I bet you they
Hold
got
on.
sirens.
But even if you have sirens, what I'm saying is, if there is an accident, someone will be looking to say, well, besides the sirens, they why did the builders place the buildings on this place, and how come they didn't have the roads wide enough to more than two cars could get through at a time? Like, no matter what you do, there's always going to be blame in every catastrophic instance. And what I'm saying is, when catastrophes like that happen, especially from the variety of a natural disaster, can we blame it on the natural disaster? Now, when you talked about the man-made weather thing, I'm not saying that that's not true. I've heard of that, especially when it comes to earthquakes and other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, put that to the side. Now, if we want to have a whole conversation about blaming, evil men for doing evil stuff to the worldwide population, that's a conversation. Um, but as far as, I was more focused on the stories that were blaming the I guess the staff for taking the children's phones, as if we would have took those phones, then this wouldn't have happened, or we would have been able to locate the bodies because there would have been some type of GPS tracking on them.
Right.
um I don't like that type of blame, because that's just something you can't predict. You can predict that there's going to be high rain levels and high flood levels, but not to the point that it's going to wash away entire cabins miles and miles down the road to the point we won't even be able to find these children. That's not crossing people's mind.
It's
Maybe somebody like yours, but that
none.
I am not prepared to place blame on things like that. Now, the argument that you had about the sirens, I can give you that. I'm from Illinois. We've always had sirens.
Yo,
They'll
this my
tell you, like, and
sirens.
not only do we have
Lord,
sirens, then they would they would do practice runs every month. I remember the first Tuesday or something every single month, you hear the sirens going off, and we knew
and
it
you
was
know what that meant.
tested to make right,
You knew
and they
what
were
that
testing to make
meant.
sure that they work. So
You knew what it
I can
meant.
give I can give you that part. Um, now, but so then this is the other thing that you're saying. You also talked about how, um, okay, there were warnings put in place. You know, you had the flood warning, had the hurricane type cloud that was over there for several days.
Eight
So,
years.
I mean, how much would the sirens have helped? Like, it sounds to me like with our technology and with the forecast, all of the warnings were in place as much as they could be, even ahead of time. How much more would the sirens have helped if we already knew that the rain was coming, that it could have potential flood? We just didn't know to what extreme. That's all I'm saying.
It would have given people that opportunity, right? When we're talking about the officials knowing and the camp counselors knowing and the fire department knowing and the police officers knowing, but the kids don't know. I need my kids to know.
What would the kids have done if they did know?
If they heard those sirens go off in like any good camp on day one, we get our evacuation plan down. These are what the emergency drills are. When you hear these sounds, this is what this means. When you hear this particular sound, that means get the fuck out of your cabin, get out of your tent, get out of your RV and move. Water is coming. It is imminent. This is no joke. And this is the place that it's like a fire escape plan with your children. This is where we meet. When everybody gets out of the house, we're going to meet at
Right,
this side of the street. We're going to meet at
right.
the mailbox. We have a meeting point. The phones were down. Okay, cool. Hell, what if all the power lines went down and there was no way to send phones? We can't rely on phones as the only measure. You can't rely on law enforcement as the only there was a lot of man-made failure that happened here. And if all they had to do was put in a siren system that just one person had to hit the bell, or the water signaled it as it hit a certain point, miles up the river before the fucking dam broke or before anything else happened. It would have just given the possibility of time for some people to have gotten
So, has that
out.
happened? Did the dam break? Is that what happened?
With this particular one, I don't think it was a damn issue as it was. I don't know where the wall of water. I mean, the wall of water came from the flash flooding in just 24 feet of water in like 30 minutes or an hour or something, and it just collected and it just moved. And at that point, that's when those rain gauges and those sirens should have been going off all down the fucking river, and at least it would have alerted people. Now, further down, I think there was some dam issues. There was some roads that had been taken out, and that further caused destruction going down the river at other camps and other RV sites. Um, sirens, sirens work in fires. Sirens work in tornadoes. Sirens work at school. Sirens work when you put an Amazon truck in reverse. Sirens work. Sirens work. Why do we have to wait for kids to be killed in a crosswalk before we put a fucking light up right in front of the rec center? Come on. Because I don't want to pay the taxes for it. I don't want to foot the fucking bill. I don't want to pay for it. What's the chances? Oh, we're going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And then 200 to
Who
300
got killed
people.
at the rec center?
I would say like maybe 10 years ago, there was a young girl right in front of Clay Madsen, who was crossing the street from Clay Madsen to the other side of the road, like right there on on Gaddis School
Uh-huh.
at the lights, and she was hit and killed.
You know what? That's crazy. And this wasn't 10. Ooh, man, that's crazy. So this had to be, and this is when I lived right down the street from Clay Madsen. I literally saw a kid get hit right at that same place that you're saying. And so what happened was, they were crossing this. The kid was crossing the street, maybe had some headphones or something on. 2 lanes, going uh eastbound. And so the cars, we're stopped at the light. The kid riding on the bike is assuming that the light is red. But say, the cars are coming down the street, and then when the light goes immediately from red to green, we're already at a complete stop.
Right.
But the car on the far lane is already in full motion, and they see the green light and they just keep going. And the kid went right in front of my car, and I pushed on the horn hard as I could because I saw the other car still coming full speed when there's green light, because we see the green light, but we see the kid going finishing the
Mhm.
crosswalk, so we're not gonna move. This other car and I had a larger SUV at the time, they just didn't see the kid, and they're going full speed, and they hit the kid right on. It wasn't even the driver's fault, but it was like, yo, and it's crazy that you mentioned. I didn't know somebody died there, because I literally, with my own eyes, saw the kid get
Yep.
hit, and I helped pick them
Yep.
up and get them back to
Yep.
their house and all of that. They were okay, but like, I didn't know that was just happening on a regular basis.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna say
that's
regular
pretty crazy.
basis, but how many kids have to die before we do con
It probably did happen on a regular. If I actually was there and saw it, I don't know how many times it happened, but like I said, it had to be
Why
something
is there
fatal.
not a safe crosswalk for children going to the rec center when there's a huge skate park right in the backyard that caters to teenagers and young people that are in the area? Like there's
Yeah.
like a numerous of schools right there on the same road. Like why does a kid have to die for you to spend some fucking money and put some safety features into play? Right? So like that's my whole thing. Like and I actually have a friend who's got two friends who lost their children in that flood. Like, he was like, please don't post anything like yesterday. I was like, no, I'm not posting anything anyways right now. Like right now, I'm just on a fucking hiatus. Like I'm processing a
Really? That's
abs-
interesting.
yeah, I'm very much in I'm just in I gotta figure some shit out mode, right? And just, you
Right.
know, meeting people where they are and accepting people for who they are, and just where we are right now as a society does not make me feel good. And I wear and I feel all of those things so hard that I can't, right? But that
Right.
that 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 situation infuriated me as a parent because it was preventable. And I'll give you enough, to agree to say that, maybe there are some things that just really are absolute horrible tragic accidents. Yes, very much so, right? But I think that oftentimes, because we're faultful people, humans are faultful. I oftentimes think that human error plays a part in catastrophic shit like that, where it could have been prevented. And I'm all about, man, I do so much of my life in prevention, because why do I want worst case scenario to happen? I don't want to have to stick my hand in the fire to know, oh shit, it's going to burn. No, I trust you. I trust you.
Right.
Why did kids not have life jackets, like literally on every bunk bed? Like maybe they couldn't have even had enough time to put them on. I don't know. But if you had sirens and you have fucking life jackets, like that's literally a part of your evacuation plan. Like this is we have to have an evacuation plan at our office for our clients. Like in the event of fire, which has never happened, this is how you get out. In the event of destruction, which has never happened, this is how you get out. But you best believe every fucking time I had to do an intake with a client, I sure as hell explained to them how you get up out of here in the event some
So
shit
let me ask.
happens.
Okay, so Nikki, let me argue this to you. You're making very good points, but I guess here's the you. I mean, you are making good points.
Thank
Here's
you.
my argument. If you and I, or you and your homegirl, whoever, if we went to one of these camps to visit, to say, hey, maybe we should do a freethinkers retreat
Right.
here, maybe overnight or something like that.
And we might.
How many?
Shoot.
Okay, we might.
Mhm.
That, you know what? That's not a bad idea,
That's too
actually.
bad. Put that on my
Um,
oh no, where my notebook go?
how many of us would say, hey, how come you guys don't have any sirens out here? Hey, how come you don't have uh life jackets inside each of the cabins for the, like, how many people? So my point is, it's always 2020 hindsight all the time after something happens. Well, how come this? How come this? How come this? But even at the time in the moment, would we have recognized all these potential no, because we're not expecting a flood to come wash away the cabins. Even if we were looking, we wouldn't be like, man, that ain't no there's no flood sirens out here.
That would be the
Like
first
that.
that as a parent who was dropping their children off, that would exclude your camp from our list of possible places. You are on a fucking river.
Okay.
A river that we know floods, and we live in
Right.
a community that we know floods, and you don't have not nan. I mean, this same river, as you get closer to
Okay,
San
so
Marcos,
for me, like, okay, like I take it back to Illinois. No, we don't have flooding there, but we do have tornadoes in certain seasons. if for
Yes.
some reason I took my kid to a 3-day camp or something like that, I wouldn't look around. Well, I'm just already leery of camps, but my first thought wouldn't be, where are your tornado sirens at? How come you don't have any? Like, that's not gonna be my thought.
But if camp is in the middle of tornado season and it's real high probability, and you're, this is a probable thing that, it's got the ingredients to take place. Like, no, we don't have these types of floods every single weekend, but we've had a lot of floods in Central Texas. I mean, you can even just say since COVID, the number of floods that we've had here with Shoal Creek, Brushy Creek, San Gabriel Creek, Guadalupe. I mean, our lake levels are pathetically low, but them rivers, once it rains, I mean, I think of all the different campsites that we've been to, like off of the San Marcos River, out that way. Suns River, or Suns Resort. Like, there's quite a few resorts on that way that have been completely fucking flooded out, underwater, completely damaged. I mean, I remember when that river took on water, and like Schlitterbahn was fucking flooded out one season. Like, we have the potential for that stuff to happen. They make enough fucking money on these RV camps, on these church camps, on these private camps, on all of these businesses. We're not just talking about private residences where I'm responsible for me and the contents of my home. We're talking about places that make money off of patrons that are there thinking that they're safe. They should have had some type of detection system in play. That's it. That's all.
So I'll give you that, because I'm pretty certain you're more of a camping. You have more awareness around camping than I
I
would.
I do. I
I'm not a
do.
big camper, and then when it comes to Texas in general, it's like I'm not I'm not interested in hanging out in the woods with a bunch of Texans.
And I
Y'all
love
scare me.
it. I love it. I love kids to be there. I love to be right off of the water, but I have never. I mean, I just think about all the years we spent, camping off the Mississippi River, and there was never any danger. Like, there was nothing bad ever happened. Everybody had a high sense of awareness. I mean, we hardly even wore life jackets, but nobody drowned. Now, does that mean it wasn't never going to happen? It's a possibility if you don't take those precautionary things into play. But like, you have to have situational awareness. Like, you just have to be. And if you don't have it, the people that you're paying for the experience damn sure got to be the ones to give it to you, because you can't die on my watch. You slipping and falling into the river, you can't cause me to lose my business because of carelessness and accidents. So I'm going to put everything in play as I can as a responsible business owner to make sure that if this fucking water is too high, I can get y'all out of here. We can get up out of here. Get these babies to safety. And they did not give them that. They
Yeah,
didn't give them that.
I
They
get
didn't give
that. I'm
them.
just when they said the entire cabin got washed away, I don't think anybody's anticipating that, and that's one of those things. Like, well, why didn't you, like? It wasn't the cabin washed away. There's certain things that
But
you
that can
can't.
happen.
It's like blaming me if my car gets swept away all of a sudden, and it's damaged or destroyed, and it's found 40 miles down the road, and they're like, well, how come you didn't put your car in the garage so that I didn't know that it was going to flood to the point that it was going to wash my
This
car away.
ain't that.
It's
This
just
is the
not. And don't
cabin
ask me why
off
it did
the
not.
river.
Well, you knew it was going to rain. You should have put your car in the garage. I wasn't
The
expecting the
cabin,
car
the
to. Yes,
cabin,
I should
this
have put it in
cabin,
there, but I wasn't expecting to
these
wash my
cabins
car
are
away.
within walking distance of a riverbank. And not only are they within walking distance of a riverbank, they put the littlest babies in the cabins closest to the fucking water. Why do you have the 7 and 8-year-old girls, the youngest, smallest, probably most helpless ones that there are in the entire camp? Why would you put them closest to the water? Not to say that if they were the 15-year-old girls or the 12-year-old girls or the 10-year-old girls, that maybe the dynamic would have been totally different, because a cabin being washed away is a cabin being washed away. But I'm just saying, why would you put the most vulnerable ones the closest to the water? Like, sometimes when we're talking about potentially dangerous and fatal outcomes, if this shit goes wrong, like, you have to think way further ahead than just like, no. And this is, I think that this is kind of like part of the problem that I am also trying to explore in this breakdown of failure is the mindset of these parents, the mindset of these people, right? Because my mindset is not going to guarantee bad shit isn't going to happen, but my mindset prevents a lot of bad shit from happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the mindset where you're just oblivious, and whatever your lifestyle is that allows you to be so oblivious, you are a danger to the rest of us to a certain degree. Those places should have had sirens. Enough people have died in the Guadalupe River floods. We've had enough significant rain events. We just watched Asheville, South Carolina, North Carolina. I'm sorry, I don't remember which of the two Carolinas it was in, but we just watched completely unnatural floods take that whole fucking mountainside out, and people are still missing. Thousands of people will never be recovered. Like, right now, literally the same thing that happened on 4th of July in Austin or in Kerrville is happening like right now in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Last night, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, same fucking flooding. Like, there's 3 massive, major, unprecedented weather rain events happening right now in this country since the 4th of July flood happened. I'm a firm believer in weather modification, so these storms are not natural, right? I believe in a whole bunch of shit that a lot of people don't believe in, but I believe that sirens would have definitely prevented some of these goddamn girls from dying. And if we don't think like that, it's going to keep happening. There will continue to be more accidents because people don't take measures into play to prevent them from happening.
You need to disconnect from the news like I do.
I had to.
I've been off of the news. What I say, since Alton Sterling and what was that though? All of that.
Yeah.
I got off of the news. That had to be probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I periodically peer in when other things get so big to where people tell me about it, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess. But so, and
But
we're gonna
I
get right back into the
calls a
blame
lot
thing.
though, right? Q. Like
You said
so
what?
far, I've had a call every day so far this week about my thoughts and people wanting to engage and explore this particular conversation, right? So like
That's why you get off of it. If you get off of it long enough, then see, people ask me about a lot of stuff, but they don't ask me about a lot of stuff in the news because they know I don't watch it. You have to create that standard to where people are like, oh, Q not watch. He's aware about most things, but those the news
shit people know I got an opinion on, you know, and
I stay out.
I also what was I gonna say? Damn. I forgot what I was going to say. But I also don't speak about things that I haven't done a little bit of research on, right? So like, I'm not going to speak about this shit if I don't know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So I think oftentimes too, I'll get people who will come to me because they've heard something or maybe they've seen something be shared and they're like, let me see what does she think about this? Like, hold on. Let me get her take on this, right? But I mean, but that's the nature of free thinkers, right? Opening up minds and delving and having conversations. I don't watch the news. Majority of my, stuff comes from social media or just like independent, sources. However,
that's the same thing too. Social media news. I stay away from that too.
Yeah, I definitely had to unplug. Well, then it turned into what I knew was going to happen almost immediately. Is it turns into a political argument immediately.
Oh, yes, I heard about that. Absolutely.
So then, of course, put the quarter in me, and I start thinking, and it's like, okay, well, now you have people immediately attacking Donald Trump, saying that basically it's his fault because he cut the NOAA. He cut the NOAA and the NWS, National Weather Society, and the North something. I can't remember what the fuck NOAA stands for, but NOAA. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart, but NOAA and the National Weather Service. So of course, part of the cutting was getting rid of a lot of positions, and so I was talking to my friend yesterday. He's like, "Yeah, but you can't say that those people being missing doesn't cause an issue." And I said, "No, I'll give it that. I don't think that." Him cutting that is like the reason.
Him being in office for 7 months is what threw everything out of K and throw it. Y'all didn't have now I'm going with you on this side. Y'all didn't have them precautions in place before that.
Exactly. So this is where the logical versus the emotional shit and the agenda stuff
Right.
starts coming into play, because
Mm-hmm.
just because he cut those positions, it's not like it's not the information was shared. There wasn't a lack of shared information based on weather data that was obtained. It was the failure from human to human, but the information was given based on the data that was collected about the weather, right? So it wasn't that NOAA or that National Weather Service being cut was like the number one reason, but that's the first place that people went, and then people had the
Yeah.
fucking nerve to go and say, well, that's who you voted for. That's what you get. So people, because Kerr County is a very red county, Texas is a very red state. A lot of these places that are on the riverbank
That's
are
why I can't watch.
generally
Yes, you can't
very
watch this stuff.
red, conservative, Trump
We're
loving people.
politicizing natural disaster, whether you believe it's natural or not. I mean, it's going to be labeled as a natural disaster, and we
Right.
turn it political.
Right. But
It's incredible.
what has also happened now, and it's only happened because little Christian white girls have drowned. Not to say that the grandparents who are with their kids are any less valuable, but
Mm-hmm.
to maximum effect, you get a bunch of Christian little cute white girls and you fucking drown them. And then you immediately turn people against one another. What's going to cause the most effect? That's your population. So now you've got actual politicians
Mm-hmm. This
largely
is the time for me to stand up
discussing who's
because
coming
we
out
got
and
people's attention.
they're trying to they're writing bills to try to pass legislation that immediately stops weather modification, that stops cloud seeding,
Okay.
that stops HARP devices, that stop weather modification, that stops
So my
chemtrails,
question
that
is, I
stops
don't know if
all
you know the well, yeah, but my question is, if you have the ability to do weather modification, why don't you take it to Arizona and Wyoming and different places that we could actually need water, and we can cultivate, use that land to actually be cultivated for some reason after we start bringing more greener, trees and grass and things like that, and it can actually be used. Like, how come they can't do it in those drier areas that would need some type of rain or precipitation?
when does solving our problems ever be what their motivation is? They don't do anything with us within us in mind. If they solved the problems, then we would not be the consumers that we are. They're creating the fires. They're creating the floods. They could easily have just went and sent some fucking rain over to LA and to Hawaii. Hawaii's actually on fire again right now. Actually, right now. I saw this today too. They could have
Oh yeah,
easily
man,
sent some
crazy.
storms over to Hawaii, right? But they didn't. They let it burn. They could have easily sent some storms to LA, to Canada, to Wyoming. They just, they had floods or they had fires recently. They could do that, but they don't. Because why? Just like they could cure cancer. Why would they do that? They could cure diabetes, type 1 diabetes. Why would they do that? They could cure all. Why the fuck would they cure these things? We're much more valuable as
Okay.
consumers. And now this is where you got to start tapping into your people, Q, because this is where evil man versus not evil man conversation takes place. I don't get into all of that part of all of these, but for those that do, these people are operating from fucking Satan. Like these people are literally operating
Oh, you said evil man. You saying God versus the devil? Is that what you're saying?
in
Okay.
I mean, so you get into the nefarious reasons behind why darkness happens, who benefits from it, the money exchange, the power exchange, power is currency, like population control, blah 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 blah. There's money to be made off of all of this. And now, if you've got people fighting each other saying, "Oh, well, that's what you get because you voted for Trump, so your kids deserve." There's a pediatrician that just lost her job. There's two women who have just gotten fired, like publicly, because they posted things like that on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So you automatically turn people against one another. We're already in a political space where we've got, fucking shit show happening in our White House. So then you got this, and then they can blame Trump for this, and Ted Cruz is over on vacation while it's happening.
He
Put the
always go
fucking
on
sirens in.
vacation.
Put the fucking sirens in. Put the sirens in. Put the sirens in. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, you can get off. Yeah, you need so, and you know what? You're absolutely right, and you have a right to be passionate. I'm one of those people. The one thing that I love and dislike about myself almost equally
And just like almost equally. Okay.
is that I have the ability to disengage. And the
Yeah.
reason I disengage because when I become engaged, I would be I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
I'd you know, probably be dead by now already. Like I'm fully gung ho when it comes to standing up for people, standing up against the powers that be. But I have developed the ability to disengage, and I create my heaven in my space, and I let the rest of the world do what they gonna do. Um, and with that, I absolutely 1000% commend those people who step out there and take away from their lives to make someone else's or another race, gender, poor people make their life just a little bit better. I commend those people 100%. But I have come to the mindset it's always gonna be something.
I
It's
agree.
always gonna be some type of like I said, whether it's a natural disaster and when it's not a natural disaster, then you got man-made stuff making disasters. So it's like it'll never stop. And I'm to the place, what do I want to do with my next hopefully I have 25 years left on this earth. What do I want to do with it?
I mean,
So
and
that's what I said. That's what I like and I dislike about myself at the same
even
time.
though so we come to the same conclusion, right? Even though we may go about our decisions, engaging or disengaging, right? Being passionate in spaces or not, we still have the same end game, right? Like, how am I still gonna live my life, right? Like, my kids are like, my kids are like you. All my kids, all three of them are like, what can we do? Like, what the fuck, like. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like, what can we do? Right? I think they just get a kick out of me being who I am. Like, she really exists. Like, like this is real deal. But they're the same way. And at first when I realized that all three of my kids are like, so fucking what? Like I was like, oh, no way, right? But like, that's okay. Like, that's okay. It's my job to be aware. It's my job to share, things that they might not have access or exposure to. If I just gave them the school treatment and the adults that we're supposed to trust treatment and the fucking news, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if I just let everybody else parent my children, then, it'd be fine, right? But like, they're able to make the decisions that they want. They're able to feel how they want to feel. They're able to do what they want with that information. But I I've had to find a way to also figure out the best way to live my life with what I have, knowing that it's not going to get any better, knowing that they're not here, they're not going to find solutions for us. They're not here to make shit better for us. We're not going to be, like it's a very bleak
Right.
outcome. So it just makes me value my time so much more. It makes me value the people that are in my life so much more. It makes me not give a fuck about stuff that I don't really even need to give a fuck about, because who cares at the end
Hmm.
of the day? It makes me be very, very intentional with every decision I have. And I think that some people might think that that makes me like a super intense person. And maybe if I am, then that's just what it is. But it's all within reason, because there's so much out here that is designed to suck us dry,
Yes.
to emotionally bleed us and emotionally bankrupt us, to spiritually bankrupt us. Uh, you have to be intentional. And I just like to know that even if they are fucking me over, I'm making very conscious decisions with what I'm doing, with what I can control.
Mm. Okay, let me ask you a question because we are hour in right now. So for the last 20 minutes or so, I have a
More
couple scenarios that I want to ask you about blame, and then
Okay.
hopefully, I don't know, we might need to do a part 2 because I haven't just talking to just the general part of it itself. So I don't know, maybe we'll break this
I
up.
got some notes down too. So
Yeah, and you know what? And so I don't know if I want to rush through that part what you're gonna talk about and what I want to talk about. We might just put a part 2. We might just put a part 2 on it.
okay.
But this is something that I thought about many, many years ago. I guess even when it came to blame. I want your thoughts on this. Michael Jackson. Did his doctor deserve the blame for his death? Conrad, whatever. They put him on trial basically for killing Michael Jackson. I was in disagreement with that to a
Yeah.
degree.
Yes.
To a degree, I was in. He
Yeah.
deserved blame.
Yes, because at the end of the day, regardless of regardless of whether Mike was or was not an addict, right? Regardless of whether he did choose or not choose to use mood altering substances like that, the person that administered them knew what they were doing. The person that administered them was a licensed professional that took an oath. The
Right.
person that
Mm-hmm.
administered them, you know, people clown me all COVID long about how stupid I am and how I ain't got no doctorate and I don't know shit about the medical world and what law department did I go to, what medical department did I go to. This motherfucker did all them things
Oh,
to be able to disperse this type of mood altering substance that is a fatal substance that could kill you. I also know that Mike was killed. So it wasn't like he was just giving him his drugs because he wanted his drugs for the night. He was trying to avoid the withdrawal for the night. Mike was killed. So I don't think
okay.
that
I don't want to
that
go into, and I know that part. That
I don't
part.
think he was
I'm on the
exclusively
fence about that
responsible,
part too. I know what you
but
mean by
he
that.
pulled the
So
fucking
okay,
trigger. He pulled the
okay.
trigger.
Thank
So
you. That was just about to be my next question, Nikki.
yes, 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 yes.
Is blame and responsibility one and the same? Because
Well,
I can
I
say
looked
that
at
the
the
doctor
label,
was
I say,
responsible for his death for all the things that you mentioned, but I still don't blame him for that. I blame Michael Jackson.
give it to him.
What's that?
Put it in his body. He is responsible for it
At the
making it
request of
to
who?
his bloodstream. Would it have
At the
gotten to his
request of
bloodstream
who?
without him? Then he's at fault.
At the request of who? Who
So,
requested it?
so
If you're requesting certain things, that you are to blame for your own demise,
if
and the doctor can also be responsible
ask
for not
you to
with
kill me,
upholding his. What's that?
if I ask you to put me to sleep in stage 4 cancer because I don't want to wake up tomorrow, you're still going to be charged with killing me. We don't live in a state where medical assisted suicide is
Because
legal.
I was responsible for
You were
putting the
responsible
IV,
for
doing
it getting
whatever.
into this person's body.
But don't blame me for kill. I'm saying the society should not blame me for killing you. They should blame you for killing you. You should be
He,
the one to blame. I would have never put any
he,
type of needle in your arm had it not been at your request.
that's not how a drug dealer
I'm
works.
talking I'm talking at the way I look at it. When people,
Right.
and that's what I'm saying, people always want to
But you
deflect the blame
probably have
somewhere
a
else.
different. But you have a different. I have a different relationship with addiction and the mentality behind the addict and how the addict does what the addict does. But I also have a different relationship with the fucking drug dealer. The mentality of the person that makes sure that they got it. Who gives it to them? Who knows it's fucking poison? Who knows I can't make you not use? But the mentality is, well, if you don't get it from me, you're going to get it from somebody else, so you might as well get it from me. No, you are a part of the fucking problem too. I do.
You can be part of the problem. I will
I
never blame.
people who are being charged with murder for selling fentanyl and people are dying with fentanyl. I don't have a problem with that. You know you're selling you know that you are distributing and administering a substance that is very high probability
Does the
of
blame
fatality.
ever? Does the blame ever in situations that you're talking about with addicts? Does the
Mhm.
blame of the dealer ever surpass that of the user?
Because they're both doing them for different reasons. I don't I don't even know if I can compare them the same way. I think
I don't compare them the same
there's
way. The
not
dealer
culpable.
will never surpass, in my opinion, the dealer will never surpass the blame. They may carries or share some blame, but the blame of the dealer will never surpass the blame of the addict. So when people sit there, you know, when the families who've lost loved ones, God bless them, and then, oh, this monster killed my baby. No, your baby made some bad decisions and they got addicted, and to the point where it ultimately cost them their lives. But the primary blame, well, even you could have been terrible parents and you might not have been there. You could have done a whole bunch of stuff. The primary blame still falls on the individual first. And then the blame can be shared around, you know, multiple people as well. But I never put more blame on others than I will the actual person. It's me.
I do. I do in that particular instance with dealing drugs, dealing narcotics, dealing opiates to somebody, right? It's almost the same thing as alcohol, right? I do because, again, they're two totally different mindsets. They're both doing them for different reasons. And oftentimes, oftentimes the one that's getting the substances to the person doesn't give a fuck about you.
So
Fuck about
okay, let me go
it.
again. Another
In my
similar
mind,
scenario.
in my mind that I give you this substance that I know is probably going to kill you or could kill you has the
Let's pull this
potential.
back. Let's pull this back a little bit. Let's pull this back. So
I can choose a different line of work. I get it.
no, no, no. Let me ask you. The bartender who gave that man or woman one too many bourbons,
Mhm,
and then that person goes out, get in the car, catastrophe happens. Do you
mhm.
blame the bartender more than you blame the person who jumped behind the wheel of that car?
Do I blame them more? I haven't gauged more, but I blame them very equally because the bartender is by law supposed to be sober enough to be able to tell that a patron is under the influence in a manner in which I probably shouldn't serve you or I shouldn't let you leave. So Texas has law that protects people in those situations. And I used to teach this in my
Right.
classes all the time. I said, if I was a fucking attorney and I took your case and you had intoxication manslaughter, I'm going after every motherfucking body else I can place blame on to figure out who can we share
Right.
this with. Because even though I know you fucked up, you also fucked up under duress. You fucked up under impairment. You are impaired. Whatever decisions you would have made sober, you do not make when you are impaired. So this isn't even the normal you making these decisions. I can't trust you, but I am supposed to be able to trust the professional.
Mhm.
So we go back to that again. I am supposed to be able to trust the professional who's giving you this mood altering substance to be able to detect, you know what? Maybe I should get,
No,
maybe, maybe I
no, no,
should
no. Stop it.
cut you off.
This professional is not forcing anything down your throat.
No, but by
You
law, they're
drove
not
yourself to
allowed to,
that.
but by law, they're not allowed to serve if you're under, if
Yeah,
you're under the
but
influence. If
I
they,
know how.
if you are a danger to
But
yourself
even
or
still,
another person, they're not allowed to. Which is why
I get
bartenders
that.
who are
So there,
get found guilty of intoxication
I know all
manslaughter.
of this. I know all of this. What I'm
Yeah.
you there you go. We had a conversation about the letter of the law a few weeks ago when we were in when we were live. We
If
can talk
you
about
can
that again too, because some
really
things have
find
changed.
a way to
We're gonna talk
use it,
about that in a second too. But
they'll use it.
okay, you want to talk about the letter? I'm not gonna be one of those letter of the law people who, well, by the letter you should have did. But
Or
yeah,
take that
because
to
you
court
did
and
not
see
do
how
that,
it works.
then there's some responsibility. So
Take that
let me
to court and see how that works. No matter how
let,
you feel, what they're gonna do is another story.
yeah, to me, that's
Whether
not very free thinkerish in my opinion. When you just allow the law to
the
dictate how
reality,
you think.
it's reality. What they're gonna
No,
fucking do,
you
no,
are allowing the
there's
law
no
to
think.
dictate how you ethically think about a situation. That's not very free thinkerish.
Wait, say that again?
You are allowing the letter of the law to dictate your ethics on how you think in a situation.
No, I'm
Whenever
telling
you
you,
lean to the law to say,
no,
well, this
they
is the
not.
law, so that means
Think that,
they're the
and
ones that's culpable.
that might be where we have the breakdown in a lot of our discussions because it's not dictating my ethics. It's just me acknowledging what the fuck's
Why
gonna
do you
happen.
keep pointing?
Court
Well,
is
why
gonna
you
go.
keep pointing to it? Why you keep pointing to it then?
The court of law is where your ass is gonna get time. The court of law is where
But
they're gonna
you're
decide what
pointing.
your freedom
No, no,
does, what
no.
that
You're
night to look
pointing
like.
to no. You're pointing to it in a way that's you're trying to confirm why you're right in this situation because the law says that. Just because the law say that don't mean that you're right about it.
The words that make up the fucking law to work in their benefit every time. It's never going to be in our best interest, but a smart lawyer knows how to use the law to work in or not their benefit. Like,
I ain't
that's
talking
just
about a lawyer. I'm talking about the in the court of Nikki
but we're
Davy
talking
opinion.
about a court of law, and we're talking about penalties
I'm
related
not talking
to.
about the court. No, I'm not talking about the court of law. That's the difference. When I say it's somebody to blame, I ain't talking about is they to blame in the
You're
court of
talking
law. I'm
about the
saying
letter of
in
the
your
law,
from your ethical moral compass, are they to
responsibility
blame?
to the
You don't
letter
hear
of
me
the
talking about no
law.
law.
No,
You don't hear me talking about the law.
you're talking about the responsibility to the letter of the law or the intention
No,
of the
I'm
letter.
not. No, I'm not. I'm talking about your between the two of us, our moral and ethical compass. Do you believe when we're talking about blame? I ain't talking about what the law says the blame goes to. I'm talking about in your opinion. And you the one bringing up the law. You ain't heard me say nothing about no law.
The letter of the law. And that's why I said this is
No,
where we
you
disagree.
keep
Because the
you
way that
keep
you
bringing
look at
up the letter of the law because that's what you keep reverting to the law to kind of justify why you think you're right in this.
so you're asking, is one more culpable than the other? And I'm
In your
answering it,
in
and I'm
your opinion,
answering it as if in
you're
culpable
leaning on
situations
the law.
where blame or responsibility or accountability is given, you got to know how this motherfucker is written so that you can be
That's not my
able.
question. That's not my question. How it's written and how the law is going to interpret it. I'm asking you, is a person right or wrong? Free thinker. Get out the law. Well, you did that last time we had the conversation live, and I'm like, why you keep bringing up what the letter of the law says?
No,
Because
no.
that's the whole thing we had about the Diddy sex trafficking stuff, and I'm like,
And that
sex
was talking
trafficking,
about, and
and
that's
then you
talking
kept
about character.
you
It's
and
talking about
other
character
couple other people,
integrity.
and y'all start what a law says. I'm like, I'm not asking about the law. I'm talking about what's right and what's fair and how you should interpret it. And
But
y'all
that
kept leaning back to the law. I don't know why y'all keep doing that in a
because
free
it
thinkers
happened for
conversation.
conversation. It was related to it was related to what is happening illegally, which is a law related situation based on the letter, how things are written, how things are interpreted, how they use them, how they I mean, all of the ways in which the legal system, the letter, the wording of the law is
I'm
designed to manipulate or not
I'm
manipulate
saying the
situations.
moment I ask you a personal question and you start leaning to the letter of the law, then that your argument weakens to me.
Ask me another question. Ask me a question.
Oh, let's no. I am going to ask you another question, but this is going to be down the same line. But let's make it a little deeper.
I'll watch this when I'm done. I will revisit
Let's
this
let,
later.
let let's make it a little deeper. Bartender
Okay.
gives him or her one too many bourbons.
Okay.
That person jumps in the car. And on the way home, then they hit a pedestrian,
Mm-hmm.
kills him. Should the bartender be charged with manslaughter? Talking about blame here.
Depends on how fucked up the person was when they left. What did this person leave with a .32 BAC? Or did this person leave with a .08? Did you get
How
a
would how
Did
how
you
would
get
the
them?
bartender know?
Did you get them fucked up or did you not get them fucked up? If you got them fucked up and you watched them walk out those doors, you're culpable. You're responsible. You knew that motherfucker went out there in that shape. You manslaughter, maybe not, maybe not. But you're
Okay.
culpable. You are an accessory.
Okay. Thank you. So that I mean that can and I could take that. So okay, maybe not charged for the actual crime. So that goes back to what I'm leaning to as far as blame. Let me back up. Let's step this one by one. And we have 115 already. We just
That's
do a part
fine.
two. So should the person driving be charged with manslaughter?
Absolutely. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I do believe that. As much as I know how much alcohol impairs us, we still make that decision well before we start drinking. So again,
Okay.
failing to plan is always going to be planning to fail. And that's what I used to teach. Like, no, I
Right.
definitely do. I definitely do. And it's fucked
Okay, so
up.
by
I,
by the by that statement, then you agree that and maybe not in all circumstances, but at least in this circumstance, the user will take more. Let me break it down. The addict will take a larger blame than the dealer, which would be the bartender in this scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
we only
ultimately,
got
you are in control. You are responsible. You are accountable to your decisions. Now, in group
you see,
dynamics,
that's what I was saying.
in group
The
dynamics, there may
person.
be other people who are also contributing to or also culpable to behaviors that I partook in
Right.
that
Yeah, no,
caused.
I don't believe everybody else get away scot-free.
Mhm.
But I just don't think more blame should be placed on, one of those, like, okay, so then it'd be, somebody, hit the pedestrian Johnny, and then the parents get up on there and Joe the bartender, Joe, you killed my baby. No,
So,
the drunk driver did that.
and to your point, to the letter of the law, the in that type of situation, they usually do not get any type of. I mean, what the bartender is charged with is nowhere near comparison to like what the actual driver who's got an
And
intoxication
that's
man.
what I'm saying about blame. Yeah,
They're
for
not. They're not.
responsibility, you are responsible. You should lose your bartender's license. You should,
They generally
certain things like that.
it's
Right,
usually fine. Like sometimes there is a criminal offense, but generally it's a fine and it's a civil thing, right? But like
right. But
we had a friend who was charged with intoxication manslaughter back in, man, it was like Super Bowl. I want to say like Super Bowl of 2000, and he killed this guy at Riverside in 35. It was like his third DWI and shit. Like we knew like he was going to do time. Like you're not getting probation for this one.
right.
Um, and he got 17 years for intoxication
Mm,
manslaughter. He he was fined. I think it was like 1.5 million civilly, and but it was like split between the bar that he left from and then
mhm,
him. So it was like
right.
750 for the bar, like 750 for him was like the civil suit after like the criminal penalties happened.
Let me tell
Um,
you why I think this is unfair, though, even
okay,
from a bartender perspective, and because I actually I had this happen to me probably 2 or 3 months ago. Um, I'm not a crazy drinker, but
right,
I could drink my share.
right.
I was out at Tater Q and
Jag
doing
Duke.
my normal Sunday how I always do.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Shout out to Tater
buying
Q.
drinks with people, take shout out Tater Q, buying drinks, and I had less alcohol probably than I normally do on a regular Sunday afternoon. Either the same amount or even less. I didn't even drink that much. But the thing was, um, I don't even think I was on a diet for whatever. I hadn't ate anything
There you go.
at all.
No food.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm like, hey, I went there to get some wings, but I'm over here talking, socializing, drinking, had
That's because
another drink, had a couple
you
beers, and
so glad I
everything
got
fine.
your class.
And
You
I
would have been
actually ordered me some
a
food.
player.
So my point was, so anyway, my point was nobody gave me any outrageous amount of alcohol to where that it was beyond what they've normally seen me drink or just normal for a normal person. But
Right.
that particular time, I had not eaten anything and it hit me differently. At the
Mhm.
time they gave it to me, I looked absolutely fine and I
Right.
was great.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, it hit me like all hell.
Mhm.
And I went outside, I'm like, "Let me get this cold breeze," and I was out of there, and then I was throwing up, and then I was one of my friends seen me, and they're like, "Oh, sir, keys. Give me your keys right now." And I knew I was mad, I was like, "Here." I'm like, "Yeah, take them. I can't even argue with you."
You
And
had a
but
Jag Juice, or would you have a Jag Juice or that Raider Punch? Was it punch or blue?
I didn't even have a Jag juice that time. I had like,
Probably
and
had a lot. Probably had
this is
some
what I
strong.
do.
And Tater Q got some strong
It
drinks.
was, but
Uh,
it wasn't. I went to Crab Kings.
you
ran
hop.
into somebody from I was hopping. So I ran into somebody I knew. They was out of town. The singles group I do. I met somebody that I recognized, and they from out of town. They live in Dallas or something. Oh, okay, yeah. What you drinking? All right, hey, all right, cheers. All right, have a good one. Seen them later. Met somebody else. All right, what you drinking?
No
All right,
food. At two food establishments and they had no food.
right. And I was gonna get to because I wanted to get something a potato cube, but I stopped there first. But it wasn't nothing crazy. And so by the time I had maybe two shots in a beer, and then I got to Tater Q, and then I might have had like another shot, and then a bit like it wasn't even that's not a lot for me normally, and I felt fine because I really gauged myself, but it hit me differently on an empty stomach. By the
Always.
time I ordered my food, I'm sitting here waiting on my food. I'm like, woo,
Wow.
woo, goodness great. And I went outside, tried to eat my food, and I was out of there. And by the time I woke up, the place was closing.
Shut up.
And then I was and then I got one of my friends seeing me outside. They were like, "Do you know him?" And oh yeah, I know him. And then it was people drove me home. But I was so anyway, my whole point with that is
So had you got
y'all
behind
know
the vehicle that night,
number one, had I got behind, that would have been completely irresponsible. But even
but
bigger than
you
that,
in your right
hold on,
mind.
but my bigger point was for someone to go back and start pointing the finger at the bartender like you're responsible for why he got drunk and killed himself, or you're responsible for why he jumped in the car and ran somebody else over for whatever. They be like, I ain't even give him much of nothing. Like, how do you like some things you should not be forcing responsibility. It doesn't blame doesn't always need to be placed in a different direction.
No,
Because
but
like I
that
said, there's no way anybody could have known that I had too much to drink for that particular day.
they did once you got outside. But that's where the fine line comes into
But
play,
I hadn't
right?
drunk anything else. By then, I hadn't drunk anything else.
But that's where
But
the fine line comes into play. And in this particular example might even be a bad example because I know how the law is written, right? But like it could be a situation where because there are many cases where you have this fatality, this intoxication manslaughter case. They're always going to go after where did you leave from, right? So let's figure out who served you
right.
last. Woo, woo. This is Austin,
I
Texas.
could have gave them one drink. Yeah, they could have been this could have been the third or fourth bar that they'd have went to.
Be going to 15 fucking bars before we got to the
Right.
last one. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
they couldn't always go
Yeah.
after that last place because they may have only given me one drink. I had 92 at all the other bars before. So this is where there is a slippery gray area in some of those types of
And on
situations.
top of that, everybody doesn't respond or act out with alcohol the same way.
And I agree.
Some
And that's
people are belligerent and they're yelling and cussing and falling all over the place. And some people got their head down on the bar, and some people just sit there and look. And there's people I know you won't eat unless you talk to them. Like, oh, you are out. Oh no, I'm
right.
messed up.
But when
And they'll say it with a straight face, with a clear like, oh no, I'm completely messed up right now. You won't even know it. They unless they tell you, you won't even know that they are.
you might not know it, but when you're trained and you know what to look for, you it doesn't take long to see it in somebody. Now they may
But
not be
are they so messed up that you can't give them another drink? Do they look that messed up to where they say, hey, hey, I like a double scotch,
not even about
and I
looking.
just look at you like that, and then you say, oh no, no, I can't.
It's not even
Come
about
on.
looking messed up. Do you keep repeating yourself? Do you keep asking me the same question? Like there's
No,
very
I just
subtle
asked you for a drink. I just
there's,
asked you
there's,
for a
very,
drink. That's
there's
all.
very subtle things that you have to look for. And if you're not prepared to do that job, then that is a risk that you take. If you
That's not fair.
overserve somebody and something happens, they could potentially come after
That's
you.
I know they can, but that absolutely is not fair. Why are people going to bars? They're not
Because of
going to bars to drink water and just to have conversation. They want to drink alcohol and feel some type of effects from it. For you to decide how far they are or what's in their system or what's about to take place, that's not fair.
Why doesn't Austin have buses until 4 o'clock in the morning? Why don't we have better public transportation? Travis County at one point had more alcohol-related fatalities, more alcohol-related arrests than any other county in Texas. Why? Because we come from a drinking culture mentality Prior to COVID, that's all Austin was. Drink, food, music, drink, food, music, drink, food, music. Not complaining, fucking loved it. But if this is the culture from which you're from, like New Orleans, same shit. Like if this is where you're from, this is normal. Drinking and driving is what everybody does. It's like motherfucking not putting sirens in life jackets in little kids' cabins on the fucking river.
Oh,
like how
Lord.
many times do you think you can do it before you run out? Your number is called. This is it. But there's so many things that we can put into play to prevent those things from happening. And having a licensed bartender, having somebody who is licensed and goes through training and goes through CEUs every time they have to renew their license. Like you're supposed to be educated just enough to help the public when this person consumes this substance that our government fucking allows us to consume that we really shouldn't even have legal if you think about it. But whatever, it's there. We can't stop that shit either. But there should be ways for people to get home safely. There should be ways for people to mitigate that. I used to get people who would come to class who were from New York, who are from Chicago.
It's called Lyft and Uber.
They were like, I never drank and drove until I moved here. And people in class would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we've been drinking and driving since we were 15. And they would be like, we don't even own cars here. We don't fucking drive. We drink, but we don't drive. We cab it, we bus it, we subway it, we public transportation it. So you come down here, you got
even if a person had one
culture, you can't tell me shit culture. Like you're fucked down here.
If a person had one too many, it is your responsibility to get a Lyft or Uber and have somebody drive you home.
Agree.
You don't even have to have a designated driver come with you anymore. You got people. Oh man, there were so many times, especially when I lived over in Wells Branch. And I'm down at the Domain on a Sunday. I'm like, nope, about to get Uber, and then drive me home. Or if and let me take it a step further. In those situations where I knew I was about to turn up, I just had an Uber drive me down there. Because I'm like, I ain't even gonna have to pick my car up. I'm just gonna have them drive me down there and they're gonna take me back.
If your plan needs to be, don't even take the fucking car out. If you don't take a car out, you got nothing to drive home. You gonna park on somebody's couch or you gonna find a way home, but you ain't gonna be behind the wheel of a vehicle. That's the best way to not go to jail. But we're not taught, like, this is one of the things I used to teach in my classes. We're never taught prevention. We're always taught education, which is after the fucking fact. They don't want to prevent these things from happening. They need these things to happen.
Yeah.
You know how much money the legal system makes on DWI fatalities and DWIs in general?
And that's what I heard was one of the biggest gripes about when Lyft and Uber came into the city is because all the DUIs and stuff went down dramatically.
Yeah.
And like you said, the courts make a lot of money off of that stuff. So you're digging into a lot of pockets of the city and the other places like that. And that was one of the biggest issues that they had, literally, because the rates were going down because, not everybody, but enough people were starting to be responsible and getting Lyft and Ubers, and it dramatically decreased the rate of all these DUIs.
It was too simple. And it was really cool for me, like professionally, to have been in this field for long enough to actually see a little bit of a culture change, a little bit of a mentality change. Whereas like us, you could tell us to not drive after, like, get the fuck out of here. We was driving. Like, that's how you got home. We were taking no cabs back then. Like, and I'm not saying that this is a good mentality to have, but that's just where we came from when it came to drinking and driving. But you have so many people now who just came up with Ubers and ride shares and Lyfts and, shit like that, where it's like you do see, a population of people who are like, drinking and driving is fucking dumb. Like, why would I do that? I can just take an Uber. Like, I'll just walk. Or people going to places that are closer to home, not having to go all the way across town. Like, just thinking about it a little bit differently, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
blame is necessary in places where I think a lesson definitely needs to be learned. Otherwise, how are you going to learn the lesson if you don't share some responsibility, take on some culpability to this thing having happened, that if I would have not done ABC, this outcome would not be this way. It would be different. It would be more favorable, right? So I think that placing blame is important. I don't know if there's that. I was thinking about it today. I don't know if there's I don't know if there's really accidents, because it's like all things that happen, it
Mm.
it feels like they're all man-made errors, human-made errors. Plane crashes, human errors. Hot air balloon crashes where everybody fucking dies on a hot air balloon, you know, a couple 100 feet into the sky. Oh, traumatic. I'll never get on one of those. My feet don't come off the goddamn ground and the water don't get above my knees. Like, but human error, like car crashes, usually human fucking error. Like, there's almost always human error involved. So are there really genuinely accidents?
Yeah.
If we don't place blame, if we don't sometimes hold people
But an
accountable,
accident is not the same as blame, though.
huh?
An accident is not the same as blame. There can be a lot of accidents, and then an accident is an accident. Like,
But it
if your child has an accident sometime, do you blame them for it? Like, no, it's just, "Hey, it's an accident, calm down. Accidents happen."
don't run at the pool no more. Don't
Sometimes no,
don't
there's certain things that you can do to
that.
prevent
Like,
things, and there's other times that you really can't. There's just gonna accidents are going to happen. Now there's cause and effect, but it still will happen. It's like, no, it's nothing to blame. Don't get upset. Just happened. It's
I mean,
alright. It was an accident.
they're all learning opportunities, especially with children. But even
Some
then,
things aren't. Okay, so now I think we turn into the part 2. I think we can hold that for next week, because I really wanna break the whole blame thing down, just the general part of it. Hold on. Dang.
I wrote the definition.
Do I wanna get to I know. Hold on, don't even go into it. Don't even go. We can save all that for part 2. Um, I was gonna ask you. No, I ain't gonna even ask you. I was gonna ask you about the Diddy stuff. I don't even need to ask you about that. We can talk about that another
We don't
time.
want to do that. We saw
Um,
what happened at our in person.
well, not just that, but exactly. That's another 20 minutes. But from a blame aspect of it, but you know what? We don't even need to go there. We're at 131. So guys,
Can we?
no, we fine.
We can give them a little bit.
No, I don't need to go there. Like, no, I don't think so. I think we're fine. So, guys, we're at 131. Thank everyone for. I'm tired too, so I don't even want to go on another 20 minutes.
I'm done. I ain't trying to argue with you tonight.
We did enough. Hey, we did enough arguing. I think we got a lot of arguing, or what you call discussion.
Yeah, just lively discussion.
We
And it's funny because
did some arguing too.
our last in person that we had, it was, I mean, I want to say it was heated, but like we were very passionate about like how we felt about the topic, and we were talking about Diddy stuff. And sometimes I think like if people didn't know and they like just walked up on the pavilion in the middle of a conversation, sometimes they'd be like, "Oh my god, they're about to fight."
Oh yeah, no, no.
And it's never that. It's just, I
But
want to
you
make
know what?
sure
My
sometimes, you want to make sure you're heard sometimes. And this person over here wants to make sure they're heard sometimes. And,
You
people
know
get,
what? The whole argument that we had live, I believe it was. I think I got to the root of what my issue was, and I think it was you leaning to the law versus you leaning to your own opinion. That's what we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. And I'm
wow.
like, no, what do you think?
Part
Stop
two.
leaning to the
Part
law. Yeah. Okay.
two.
All right, guys. So if you guys, we'll probably having a part 2 on this next week.
Yep.
What's today? Yeah, Tuesday. That'll be fine.
Yep.
Because next week, I think Wednesday and Thursday is my son and my birthday, so we'll be out doing something. We figure out something to do. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Make me
What do you
make
want?
make me some goodies. That peach cobbler work or something. So, whatever's on your heart.
Let me know what you
Um,
want. I got you. I figured
okay,
that's like the least thing I can contribute to people that I care about is like a fucking birthday dessert. I ain't got
oh
shit
yeah,
else sometimes in this life but complaints and foul language. So I at least can make a dessert.
yeah. So yeah, guys, if you have any topic ideas, make sure let us know. More than likely, we're 99% sure that we will talk about it. I can't think of a time somebody came up with a topic and we did not
Right.
discuss it.
Right.
We also thank everyone for their comments, chiming in, listening to us. And whenever you listen to this, whether it's later on today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, put it in the comment thread. And we can keep the conversation going just like we do on the Facebook group thread. And if you like these type of conversations, go to our Facebook group where we have very listen, let me say it like this. If you get tired of your own personal thread and the things that you're seeing as far as what people are interested in or content, go to Free Thinkers. You will get you go down our thread and you will find a new freshness of ideas, topics, conversations, controversy, all of that. That is very interesting, eye-opening, and will make you think and have a further discussion, have conversation. It really is a good stuff that a lot of our free thinkers put on there.
And
So
we
be a
thank
part of
y'all
that
for doing
conversation.
that. Like, we thank you for
Yes.
building community. Like, we thank you for engaging with us. Like, we missed everybody tonight. I don't know where everybody was at tonight. It turned into a me and Q night, which we don't do a whole lot of anymore. But like,
Right.
we missed y'all, you know. But we truly appreciate everybody for chiming in and sharing and subscribing and, you know, just being in the comments and, you know, asking what's the topic tonight and showing up on Tuesday night for our last Tuesdays. Like, man, we appreciate y'all. You know, sometimes we don't know who we're engaging with, you know, so it's always love, like, for me to see my people show up in the comments and show up, you know, us show up on your timeline. I'm like, oh my god, that's what's up, right? Like, that's how this works. So I appreciate everybody who has supported us and who continues to support us. And, you know, me and Q we're not gonna stop talking until we absolutely have to. So you support us and we're gonna keep talking.
Nope,
We're
till
gonna
they
keep
kick
showing
us out.
we gonna
Yeah.
keep showing
This and see the and I get, you know what? Let me get off of here. I think so. Free Thinkers started as a live discussion group, not a podcast that we're
in
trying to do
person,
for
like live
likes or
in
clicks
person.
or
Every
monetization or anything like that. So just so you know, whether a million people is watching us or whether one person watches or if nobody watches it, we still gonna keep doing this because this comes from our own personal love
yeah.
of the conversation itself. It existed before uh, we were on Facebook Live, and it'll continue after that. So you know,
Absolutely.
feel comfortable. We're not going nowhere. Just, that's all I'm saying. And if it's not here, it'll be on YouTube. If it ain't there, then it'll be we'll be in the alley talking. Like, it don't matter. We will always be doing this. So
Absolutely.
feel comfortable on that.
Absolutely.
You're not gonna love us and then lose us. We're gonna be around. So just know that.
Yeah, we gonna find a way. Yeah, we definitely gonna find a way.
All right. I think that's it. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Thursday, good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. See y'all.